All right, and we are live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a brand spanking new episode of 27 Outs Live. And as always, I, of course, am Ivan alongside my brother here, Stefan. Today is one of them days, man, and not too often do you hear me say that to start the show off. But I have to admit, man, we don't do many interviews. Today is going to be an interview. Shout out to those of you who are new here tonight. Thank you for stopping by. But for those of you who have been supporting us for some time now, we told you guys just a few days ago to do some homework, right? And we told you guys that we were going to come in a few days with, as I mentioned, something special. And, we're going to get into a lot. I think this was pretty viral, I would say. It's been covered across several platforms. It was posted by ESPN. It was posted by Major League Baseball. I know who we have here with us. He's going to talk about what he's been doing because I'm sure he's been very busy over the past week or so. But yeah, man, without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. Justin Chamorro. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Chamorro, is it?
You're actually the closest, Chamorro.
Chamorro. There we go.
There
So
you
we
go.
got the Lehman College Lightning's very own right-handed pitcher, Justin, with us here tonight. Justin, how are you feeling, bro? I got to ask you, before we get into everything else and before I pass it over to you, Stefan, what has the past, I guess, should I say 7 days, a week and a half now? What has it been like for you?
I mean, it's I know prior it was relaxed, everything was good, but once the media started hitting, it's been rough. I've had like 15 interviews within 48 hours. That was crazy. I mean, I was not used to that, but there was a lot going on, a lot of scheduling, a lot of people wanted to talk to me. I even got the opportunity to go to NBC in the city, so that was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Stressed out with school on top of that, and baseball never stopped. I mean, it's pretty stressful. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I guess it's the good kind of stress, though, right? Like
Yeah.
you felt like, damn. But what was it like, man, pitching in that? First of all, before all that, what made you want to keep pitching? 42 games is a lot of games, and it's a lot of, tough nights. And what I should have done differently. What made you want to keep coming back to Lehman, keep doing your thing, and keep investing into the team?
I ask myself that same question every day. I mean, nah. But on a serious note, I mean, Lehman College is a beautiful opportunity. People should definitely take advantage of that. I know my father graduated with a master's in social work in 2012, so I have family ties to Lehman College.
Mm.
Um, Essentially, I had a lot of motivation as well. I had a lot of people to prove wrong. I know a lot of people didn't want me to make it this far, yet didn't believe I had the skill set to pitch at this level. So there's that. Um, and honestly, just working hard, truly, like being motivated, determined to not only prove people wrong, but prove to myself that I belong. So be it that, like I said before, Lehman is an opportunity, it's a stage, it's a platform to bring exposure to yourself. That's what I took it as this year, especially being my senior year. Last spring was the first season I pitched with Lehman, and we went 0-27. That was that. But this year I wanted something different for the group of guys we got. So that's what really kept me pushing. Truly, I knew we was gonna win. It was just a matter of when, and I honestly, like, I'm gonna be so happy when we actually prove all the people that are against us wrong.
There
The
you go.
season's not over yet, and anything can happen in the span of a couple of weeks. So we got
Yeah, of course. Listen, man, before we get into anything else, I know you
that.
talked about, how long it was leading up to that victory, which of course came thankfully, due to the way you performed on the mound that day.
Yeah.
But I want to share something with you briefly myself. I never played at the college level, right? Last time I played was when I was 18 years old. I actually played in a pretty tough division because I'm sure you come from PSAL too yourself, right?
I went to Cardinal Hayes for three
Cardinal
years.
Hayes,
So
okay.
I was in the Catholic School Association, and then I went to Enlightened Academy. That's where I graduated from. So I was homeschooled out in Florida, and I played for Cambridge Christian, a nice private school out there in
I've
Philly.
heard of them. Yes, I've heard of them. Yes.
And that's how I went to my first university, Warner University, and then I came to New York. That's my road to over here. It was interesting. Yeah.
So is that why your first year was last year with Lehman, because you came from elsewhere?
So yeah, so I did 2 years at Warner University. I went to St. Thomas Aquinas College, which is a Division II in Spark Hill, New York, and then I ended up transferring to Lehman. That's my road here.
Gotcha. But I wanted to add one more thing into my previous point that I just stated a few seconds ago. So yeah, when you mentioned, being 04, I know exactly what that feels like. I think I want to say maybe a year or two in high school when how many games they play in PSL? I think it's like 14, 16, something like that. Yes. But my point being, I know exactly what it feels like to be on a losing streak for that long. But honestly, I can't even say that myself because what you guys had going on was a bit longer. So I want to ask you, now that you guys got that victory out the way, do things feel any different? What's the locker room like? Are you guys feeling more motivated? And I know you said you were a senior, but how about some of the younger guys, like moving forward? What's the mindset like now?
Well, to be brutally honest, I mean, we haven't won thus far. We've lost some competitive games as of recently, but the energy is there. People are motivated now more than ever. And honestly, getting that first win was what really got us back on track as a team, got us to gel more, got us to actually, work together on the field. Because before it was a little bit more isolated. Now, since we know we got it in us, it's like let's add on more. I like the feeling that win. Let's feel it again.
Yeah. So. All right, man. So what's that? You out there on the mound? Right. You're in the middle of a game, and you're trying to figure out how do we get this win. Like, what's the first thing that's going through your mind? You're in the middle of the game, and you finished with 13 Ks. You had a hell of a game. Right. Did you know as soon as you hit the mound, like this is going to be one of them nights where you got it in you, or you're like, damn, like we just gonna have to make it work. You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that look like?
Truly, I mean, leading up to the game, the warm-ups, everything was the same. I treated it just as any regular game. The press, that's, been there, done that. It's nothing new. There's always people watching.
Right.
I never pay attention to people anyway, because when you're pitching, you're so locked in. It's like everything else is just noise. You're just so locked in on what you're doing.
Right.
Funny enough, it was cold. It was cold that day. So I didn't really have too much control of all my pitches. I didn't have my full repertoire right there. Right. I knew I had I had my fastball working somewhat, and then my curveball, my slurve was like on and off. So I really had to figure it out during the game. Truly, I had to figure it out.
So it's like you were playing chess on the mound essentially, because when it's cold. See, explain that to people, because when it's cold and you can't get the grip on certain pitches and it limits you, and you got to get through a lineup maybe 2 or 3 times. Right. How do you manage to get yourself mentally prepared? Like, yo, I don't have this pitch tonight, or this doesn't feel like I have the feel for it, or I can't get it to break a certain way. What is that like on the mound? Are you like battling yourself, playing chess out there?
Yeah, definitely. You're working with your catcher. I mean, it was me and him, and after every inning, after every half inning, he and I would talk and be like, "Yo, what you feeling? What's working for you? What's not? What do you want to call more of?" Also, the batters would tell you the swings. With the swings that they're taking, they would tell you their approach. I know for a fact my bread and butter is my changeup, so that's my pitch. That's what I make my money on. However, that day it wasn't working, so I had to rely on my slurve. I had to, give him a different look. And essentially, that's what it is. He calls a pitch and I execute. I don't really think too much on the mound. I just know, like, if there's a pitch he calls and I don't want to pitch it, I'll just look at him for a little longer and he'll know. Or I just shake off slightly and he'll know, set up on the other side of the plate. So it's between me and the catcher, really. It's not just me.
I got one follow-up to that.
Go ahead.
So
yeah.
Who do you prefer, the catcher calling the game, or you want to call your own game? How does that work? Especially when you don't have your A1 stuff. Do you like, all right, let me call this game because I know what I have on this particular day?
Truly, I like it when either the coach or the catcher calls the game, honestly. It's one less thing to worry about.
Okay.
All I'm there is just to throw the pitch and execute. After that, I did my job.
Okay.
So that's how I think. That's why I like it so much, because I have no pressure. If I did my job and they hit it, so what? I did my job. That's the game of baseball. So
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So you being a pitcher, I gotta ask you, bro. So obviously you know well in advance when it is that you're going to pitch. So do you have a routine going into games? Is there something in particular that you might do maybe the night before or maybe the day of? And if there is, what are some of those things that you like to do, knowing that you have to be at your best, not only for yourself but for your teammates as well?
Yeah, I'll share some of them with you. I mean, I know for a fact there ain't no way I need my full night's sleep. So there's that.
Okay.
I need my full night's sleep. There's none of that going to sleep late, none of that calling me after 10, 9:30, none of that. Like, I'm going to sleep. I also keep like talking to people to a minimum. I like to stay to myself leading up until the game. Um, Country music also helps mellow me out before the game, which is interesting because you never expect it. But trust me, I got a lot of country in me. Being from the Bronx, New York, that's kind of a curveball right there. But
It is.
trust me, I'm a very complex persona. But I listen to country music, and I like to pray before every game, make sure everybody's straight. My teammates, the opposing team, it's bigger than the game. And whatever happens on the field happens for a reason. And at the end of the day, it's a game. So always make sure that God's first in everything I do and we keep it moving. So that's basically my routine. I essentially go to sleep, wake up. I get to the field early enough. I take an hour to stretch, another hour to throw, like I'll say 30 minutes to throw, and then I go into my bullpen pregame routine and stuff, and then take it from there.
Right. So it sounds like you really like to escape from the world, at least for the moment, and then get back to everything else. But for the moment, you're just locked in and zeroed in on making sure that you get the job done on the mound, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. For my teammates, for my coaches, for my family, I'm locked in.
Has there ever been a moment where you're on the mound and you're like, damn, I forgot to do this today, or damn, I didn't really get my full stretching, or damn, I didn't,
Yeah.
Has there ever been a moment where you're on the mound and you're like, I don't know how I'm out here doing this because I don't feel like myself, or you're just trying to find an escape, like Ivan said. That's a great word, because I think the pressures of being an athlete are immense. You could speak to it better than us, but like, is there ever a time when you're on the mound and you're like, damn, I'm in this place, man. I'm doing what I love to do. And you ever get lost in it?
I take it in every outing I go. I know there's been times where obviously I didn't do my whole routine because I got to the field a little later. Like, for instance, last game, let's just say I pitched against CCNY. I got there instead of my full 2 hours before the game, starting my stuff. I got there an hour and a half. So I had to rush somewhat, which throws me off sometimes, but you have to adjust. You have to find a way, make sure you show up. But yeah, every time I pitch, taking the moment, the good, the bad. I know when the other team is cheering, I love it because I grew up in the Heights playing baseball, so that's nothing.
There we go.
That talking smack ain't nothing new to me, so that's just more fuel to the fire.
There you go.
But yeah, that's basically it. There has been times though that I wasn't able to get this routine done, and I still had to find a way.
Right. So you just said something that I wanted to get into at some point, but now that you mentioned it yourself, I think now is the perfect time. And by the way, shout out to everyone who is watching right now. We really appreciate it. For those of you who are here, we also talk baseball right outside of this. So make sure you guys go ahead and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at 27 Outs 3C. And for those of you watching right now via YouTube Live, as I mentioned, we appreciate it. Hit the thumbs up button. Not only for ourselves, but also for those of you who are here supporting your boy Justin, and subscribe as well. So you just mentioned playing baseball in the Heights, and I got to ask you, how long have you been playing baseball for? Has it been, that long? Is it something that came later in your life? Because, we hear stories all the time about people who start really young, but then you also hear, like, on the flip side, guys who don't start playing until they're teenagers. What was it like for you in your case?
I started playing baseball competitively like around 7, 8. That's when it was getting real serious for me, travel ball and stuff like that. I mean, um, I grew up playing baseball. I played in Inwood. I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
Yeah.
Right there, Inwood Park. I always played with Dominicans that were much older than me. That was crazy. Them boys are ringers, boy.
That's how
I
you get
over
better.
there in middle school. I'm playing with high schoolers. That was crazy work, but it prepared me. It definitely prepared me. I wouldn't want it any other way. But yeah, that atmosphere, that ambient, it's festive but also hostile. Could go either way. I know for a fact when we played a team from the Dominican Republic, there was clowning us Dominicans born here, talking like we eat cereal, like we're not pure plátano, all that other stuff. They was talking hella smack, but it's good to show out and prove other people wrong. So that's where I got that from.
Right. So at what point does you deciding that you want to be a pitcher come into your life? Was that something that you did at a young age? Because, for a lot of people, they play, several positions before they finally lock into like one or two at a certain point. But what were some of the positions that you played, and when did you finally decide, I think pitching is my thing?
Believe it or not, I've always been a good pitcher. I used to play infield. I used to play third base. I love third base because of the reaction and not a lot of action and stuff. Then I ended up moving to shortstop. That wasn't really a good fit for me. And then I went to the outfield. I love the outfield because I love to run. It was that. However, my hitting was mediocre. It was on and off. And I remember, my coach, my trainer, Tony Melendez, me and him had sit downs, and obviously he told me that my strengths were pitching. It's always been pitching, and going into college, it's a different world. It's not just like, if you're going to be a two-way, you got to be a two-way, and you got to be good at both things you do, hitting, pitching, whatever the case may be, fielding. And to put my best foot forward, it was definitely pitching. And, I've been told also by other coaches as well, that's the way I should go. And that's the way I went. And I love pitching to this day. I mean, I don't regret it, not one bit, even though I miss hitting, but I love pitching. There's a difference.
So what's the first pitch that you said, I really want to master this pitch? I know everybody starts with a fastball, but what is it? I know you said you throw a changeup. What was it like learning that changeup? What was it like learning the idea of, I get to master the secondary pitch? Because they say a lot of times mastering the secondary stuff is the hardest part of being a pitcher, right? So what was that like, mastering the secondary stuff, knowing, if I get this down, it's gonna take me to the next level?
Right. So funny enough, the first pitch that I loved to throw was a splitter, and then I lost it. I used to throw when I was younger, and it was nasty, and then I lost it. And then for the changeup, I knew for a fact that I had very good control of the fastball, and the changeup was a very good setup pitch for whatever else I wanted to do, and also a put-out pitch depending on what I wanted. And I loved the way it broke. It was introduced to me. I forgot who exactly introduced it to me, but I just knew that I have a two-seamer and a changeup, and that could throw a hitter off. One is going inside in your hands, and one is dropping inside down to your ankles. So that's tough. Learning it was interesting. I learned it quick. The only thing was controlling it. Like, getting the movement was there, but controlling it where I wanted to, that was a little bit more challenging, because I would have to start it somewhat in the middle and trust that it's going to break down into the hitter's back pocket, away from a lefty into a righty. So that's how it really was like. It was just a lot of practice, long toss, throwing that thing, a lot of bullpens, a lot of experimenting in the game. I'm not gonna lie, I got pieced sometimes because I left it there. I mean,
it happens to
eventually, that eventually became my bread and butter. That was that toxic pitch that pitcher has. Yep.
All right. So here's a fun one though. What's one pitch you wish you had in your repertoire that you don't have, that you're like, damn, if I had this pitch, I'd be unstoppable.
Boy, if I pull up with a screwball, ain't nobody trying to hear about no screwball
All right.
or a knuckleball. Ain't no way. Pair that off with whatever I got now. That's toxic.
Oh man, wow.
Have you ever messed around with it and to kind of like see if you could at least try to add it on to what you already throw, or you just can't at all?
Truly, nah, I can't do it. I have friends that throw some wicked knuckleballs, but I can't. If I
Wow.
throw one, it's gonna sit right down the middle and it's gonna be sent a long way. I'll tell you that. I ain't getting that ball back. I'll tell you that.
So I know a few minutes ago we obviously, you've been talking about yourself. You talked about the mindset when I asked you about what was it like finally getting the win, not only for yourself but amongst your teammates as well. But talk to us a little bit about head coach Delgado. Like, what's it like playing for him? Is there something about him that maybe grew on you later that you weren't really a big fan of? Literally anything, man. I mean, because you know the guy best, right? You play for him, so talk to us about that.
Well, he's one of the youngest coaches in the NCAA. I'm gonna start off with that. This guy is 26 and I'm 23. I just turned 23, so you can only imagine. It's nice to have somebody that I can relate to in that aspect. He also pitched. He also played at Lehman, so he knows how the program has been running. He knows what the program needs and stuff. But let's focus on the individual aspect of things. He's a very good coach. He's a very genuine guy. He's young in his career. He just started. And for somebody that young to have the wisdom he has now, like that's nice. He's good at talking to you on the mound visits too. Not for anything, he's good at calming you down. Like he be saying things, it's like, okay, let me lock it. Makes you smile or something, but it makes you realize, this is a game. You need to relax. You're too tense, right? But back to Delgado, this guy, very dedicated. His age, 26, he acts like he's way more mature. He runs the program very well. He instilled order in his program. The amount of time he's dedicated to the program, time, money, resources, he has invested his whole life into it, along with whatever else he has going on, into his players. Very accessible, very understanding, stern at times. He tells you how it is. I mean, I wouldn't want it any other way. Delgado also instilled a different type of culture that Lehman hasn't seen before. It actually feels like a real program now, like a real Division I program now. That's how he runs things. And although we're not getting the Division I results at the moment, but it's part of the rebuilding process. So instilling discipline, instilling a culture of integrity, building men up to be leaders, to be a brotherhood in this program, because it's much more than the sport itself. This is preparing you for real life, and he goes by that all the time. And he wants us to be good husbands, fathers, men in general, sons, and he's very big on that. So I appreciate that. Not many coaches take the time out to get to know their players and actually genuinely connect with them on a one-on-one level, and he does that. So kudos to him for that. I know all my other coaches didn't really make that effort. So yeah,
it seems like he got a good grasp on how to deal with the modern player, because he's pretty young himself.
Yeah.
But what's one thing that you took from him that you didn't have before you went to Lehman College? Like before you got to the program, what's one thing that you learned from him that you didn't have before you got there?
To be very honest, he rekindled my hunger to want to get better. Because before I felt like I was coasting. I knew I was good, but I wasn't working hard enough. In college you have to work hard, especially with athletes that are at your level or even better. So he instilled that hunger for me to show that city boys could play, and I'm putting on for the city. So it feels good.
All right, so we got a few minutes left here. We don't want to keep you here forever, but I myself I want to say at least maybe 2 to 3 questions left.
Go
Stefan,
ahead.
I'll also leave some time for you as well.
I got one more, and then you can take it the rest of the day.
All right, go ahead.
Mine is fun. Is that the coldest game? Is that the coldest game you've ever pitched in? Because you said it was cold. You did reference the temperature on the earlier in the show. So was that the coldest game you pitched in?
Nah, it wasn't. I think the Maritime game, the very first game of the season, was much colder. Especially us being right next to the water. That was crazy work.
Wow.
That was crazy work. We played at Maritime against St. Joe's, Brooklyn. Boy, that was cold. That was very, very cold. The wind made it even feel worse. At least the wind at Yeshiva wasn't that bad. And we had the sunlight. Over there, it was like partially cloudy. And it was cold. it was so cold.
Listen, I want to tell you something, Justin and Stephen. You know, so we both met at Kingsborough. You know, Kingsborough Community College is right in Brooklyn by Manhattan Beach. So we've gone there. Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, Juan Maldonado. Yeah, he went there.
Oh, that's dope, man. Shout out to him for sure. But the reason why I mentioned that is because you just talked about playing by the water. And Stephen and I, we used to go to the Kingsborough games just to support them. And that is directly by the water too. So when you shared that, I already envisioned back then what it felt like just to forget playing, because that's what you're doing. But just sitting there, like, as a fan, we're not even active.
Yeah, we were just sitting there trying to get an interview after the game. Like, you know, so we can't even imagine, like, playing in it must be a little bit easier because you get to move around. But sitting out there must be brutal. That's why I don't understand how these big leaguers, they playing in games in March and it's freezing and you can't feel your face. I'm like,
your hands. Yeah, not even the shiesty saves you at times, because even the shiesty, you still feel that wind slap you. You still feel it. But they go so
all right, so
man.
Let me get into Stephen. I know I heard you say this a couple of times, but I think what I'm about to ask him right now on behalf of myself is also going to be fun too.
Nice.
But let me ask you this. I know we're talking about nothing but baseball here tonight, but you know, what's life like for you? I guess, what are some of your hobbies? You know, what do you like to do when you're not playing baseball? I know when you're playing at the level that you play at, you know, baseball, you know, it plays a big role in your life, right? Like most of your free time is probably spent working out, practices, things like that. But aside from that, what do you like to do?
My days are long. Let me tell you, Ivan, my days are so long.
I can see it in your reaction.
My days are so long. There be times I don't even see my parents throughout the week. Like, I leave early for work. I go to school right after, and I don't come back till like 9 p.m., 10:30 p.m. They're already in bed to go to work the following morning. So that just goes to show you my schedule. But outside of baseball, I love to eat. I'm a certified big bag. Like you thought I work for no reason? Ain't no way, boy. No way. I'm gonna try different cuisines. I like going out. I mean, I also like watching different series, like different TV shows and stuff like that. Gotcha. I'm also in the process of applying to PA school, so getting my prereqs for that. That's what I do in my free time. Doing a certification here, doing my classes there. That's really it. It's very stressful though. So as a hobby, I would say eating. That's the number one hobby. And then the second thing would definitely be watching TV, because ain't no way. I love me some good TV. Apple TV. Oh, Apple TV Plus, my fault.
Nah, they got some fire over there. They
bangers. You ever seen Severance?
Of course. I'm in the middle of it right now.
Come on now, boy. Oh.
I'm in the middle of it right now. I just finished what's the show with Sterling K. Brown on Hulu? That Paradise?
Paradise, John?
With Sterling K. Brown. It's on Hulu. If you haven't watched it, go watch that show, man. That show was incredible.
You know what? I'm gonna take your word for it. After
that
this
show was incredible. Listen, I'm telling you, I'm not gonna steer you wrong. I love good TV. Outside of watching baseball, good TV it gets you through.
Yo, it gets you through. Exactly.
It gets you through. Yeah. All right. Since you say you're a big bag and you love food,
right?
What's your pregame meal, man? What do we eat in pregame? Do you have a big meal pregame, or do you wait till after the game to eat? What's the food intake like on a game day?
Very light pregame. Very light. I have like peanut butter jelly sandwich with that. And then after the game, I go crazy. Then I go eat my rice, beans, and chicken or whatever mom has in store for me. Then I go crazy. But before the game, super light, simple. water, a protein cookie at that, and that's it. Just keep it moving.
Nice.
All right. So my last question, and then Stefan, if you have the last one, you could wrap it up.
For
But
sure.
my last question to you, Justin, I hope maybe you weren't thinking this, but I have to say, I hope you didn't come on the show thinking that we weren't going to ask you at least one or two baseball questions now outside of what you do for Lehman. So before we go here, I got to ask you, who's your favorite player in the game right now? And if you could follow that up with, who's your favorite player of all time?
Who's my favorite player in the game right now?
Yes.
I'd like to say Marcus Stroman, but I'd be lying because I've been looking at Paul Skeens more.
Look. You see him?
Yo, Justin, I'm so glad you're here right now. Listen, I don't want to make it, as big of a deal as I used to, because I'm gonna be honest. The guy is on a downslide, right? But
Right.
I've been a Stroman fan myself since like 2016-ish. Like a year before he pitched for Team USA and won the MVP for them in the Classic. I was already a fan of him at that point, back when he was with the Blue Jays. So it's kind of crazy because here on the show, yo, they really come for me, man. They be like, yo, you a Stroman fan? That's crazy. But I get it. Like, it makes sense now, But I don't know. There's just something about, like, the way he just goes about the game. If you're really a fan, he's big on mindset, locking in on things. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, but it's really funny you say that, bro.
Yo, Marcus Stroman is a guy. I love the flair. I like the swag he plays with. I like the confidence. Also, he's very well spoken. I like people that are interesting characters. You can't judge a book by his cover. You can't judge him off his tattoos or any of his likings, because he's a really sincere man from what I've seen. I don't know him personally. I wish I could, but seems like a nice guy. So
I'm gonna just whisper this. This is that Duke education. You know what I mean? We out here.
Yes, sir.
we out here sending people to the big leagues. Don't mind me. I'm a Duke fan, so don't mind me. One final thing, we're gonna let you go on this, man. If you had to say you modeled your game after one particular pitcher, who would you say you modeled your game after? Who did you enjoy watching when you were younger, and who influenced you in terms of watching them on TV or watching them, if you went to a game live? Who's the guy you always wanted to see pitch?
What's crazy? Marcus Stroman, that's my guy. That's my guy. That's my man. But as far as who I modeled my game after, I believe in my college career, I love when Garrett Cole pitches. That's the ace of the Yankees. He was back in Houston. He was a dog then. I love the way he pitches. He's just a dog. And his mechanics, the way he attacks hitters, and his poise. That's a leader, right? That's a commander in chief right there on the mound. I like that. So that's what I carried into my game. I basically, took some of his things, what I saw from him, his mannerisms, and implemented into my game. I love the way he pitches, man. He's a dog. Definitely. Garrett Cole.
Can't go wrong with Garrett Cole, man. And on that note, man,
that's dope, bro.
Justin,
I want to thank you for stopping by. As you mentioned, at the very top of tonight's interview, you've been busy, right? You've been talking to, this mainstream media outlet, that one. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it was 27 outs who I don't want to say we got the final one, but, we got a good one, because I don't think everybody was able to get what we got out of you tonight. So I want to thank you for stopping by. Stefan, anything? And also, Justin, I want to ask you too. We have a chat here, and like I said, I don't want to keep you here long. Is there like a question or two that you want to answer that they may have asked, or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for a fact, I also had some of my input I wanted to share with you guys, just so you guys
Go ahead.
So being at Lehman, I saw in the comments, I saw all the videos before the Shiva game, the advertising, all of that. I saw the 6.9 ERA guy. I saw DS Arm when he posted his 2 videos or whatever the case may be. I saw the comments. They was talking smack after the game about me, saying, let's go. I mean, I want people to realize one thing, right? Lehman College, I said, is an opportunity. But what they don't see They see the losing streak, they see all that good stuff, whatever. But what they don't see is the fact that we're underfunded, right? We lack support.
Mm.
We barely could get baseball for games, right? We pay out of pocket for our jerseys. We pay out of pocket for pretty much everything we got, truly. So we basically fund ourselves.
Wow.
And then on top of that, we don't have any dorms. We're a commuter school. So while people are going back to their dorms at the end of the day, we got to go back to home and then redo the whole day in and day out, 7 days a week. So there's a lot of things that people don't see and a lot of work that we put in that people don't see. That is like, you're not looking at the bigger picture. I wish they got our POV, our viewpoint, because they see Yeshiva, they see us, they criticize and whatnot. How are you Dominican and you're not good, et cetera, et cetera. But we're basically making do with what we got. We don't have no batting cage. We pay out of pocket for that. Guys have to go link up one another, go to Throg's next batting cage, whatever, to get extra reps. And it's just, it shouldn't be that way, but that's what we have to do. That's our adversity that we have to face. And if people were to take into account that along with how we were left to stranded last year with the coach, he didn't recruit nobody. He left us there. You feel me? And it was, it was a personal situation. We all understand, but we was hung to dry. And then this year, my coach got the job late in the year. It was after recruiting season, tying our hands behind the back and not really much to work with, that's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that we have to overcome. And that's why this win meant so much to me and my teammates, because it's like, even through all of that, everything going against us, the school talking smack about the baseball team, whatever. You got the college baseball world talking smack, whatever the case may be. But they don't know how good they have it, They don't know everything that it takes to even get to this position, And I'm thankful for the recognition that we got as a team, as a school. It gave me a platform. Well, you guys gave me the platform to say the truth, because as much as I was answering questions on interviews with these big media outlets, they essentially only aired what they wanted to air. And
we love, brother. This is going out.
That's the unfortunate reality. And I loved every story and everybody was so nice to me. But the truth is, to even get to that win, it took a lot. It took a lot to get to that. And we had to develop a team that wasn't there. It wasn't college ready. And we turned it college ready towards the beginning of the season. So that's a lot of kudos to Coach Delgado, his effort, the training he put us through, literally put us through hell month. You heard of a hell week? Nah, we had a hell month. That was straight conditioning, straight getting into shape, boy, whipping us into shape. So, kudos to him for that, him and the coaching staff. But this is the reality. This is the reality of playing at CUNY Lehman College. And people have to see that. People have to know that to understand what that win means to us.
Thank you for that, man. Thank you. It seemed like you needed about a minute or two to really let that out. And, we gave that to you.
Appreciate that. That was dope. That was dope.
Justin, thank you, man. That was a great time. And a few people asking in here real quick, why did you choose the number 28? So they want to know why you chose the number you chose. And
funny enough, my favorite number is 8. And at the time, a coach had it. The old coach had it. And so I chose the next best number, 28. Called it a day. I was like, let him hate 28. It has a little ring to it too.
Nice. Sounds good, man. Sounds like you got a chip on your shoulder, man. We got to have you back sometime and tell some more stories and get your perspective on, what's happening in the big leagues and stuff like that. Don't be a stranger, man. We're going to be hitting you up for more, for sure.
Oh my God, I'll never be a stranger. This is a blessing. This is an opportunity. Thank you.
No, thank you, bro. Thank you for sure. Brother. This was fun. But thank you. As I mentioned at the top of tonight's interview, we don't do many. This is probably, what is it, like number 3 for us? Second, right? Second with an actual player. The other one was with a colleague. But yeah, this was fun, man. Thank you for giving us more of your time compared to what you were giving some of these other people. But as you just mentioned a few seconds ago, they're looking to broadcast a certain thing rather than actually just openly just sharing what you genuinely put out there, But thankfully, that's why we have platforms such as 27 Outs. And thank you for accepting the invitation, man. I have no other words. We appreciate it.
What he said. What he said.
What he said. Yeah, Stephen. Yeah, Stephen.
What he said. Again, guys, thank you for stopping by. The chat is lively. We appreciate you guys, but we ain't got to go home. But we got to get the hell up out of here. So
yes. All right, fellas. You have a good night.